Well, it's one of these videos. So,
Well, you could just let your boy know. Well, his girlfriend made your mama cry.
mm, I probably should go after her more than anything.
Huh?
I probably should go after her more than anything. But anyways, I digress. So, like I was saying, yeah, it's one of these videos, and this gonna be called like one of the dumbest trade ideas part two. So y'all probably already saw part one with the Bucks reaction, and yeah, Bears at it again. And like I said, just this new generation, like some of them, I would say, are like thinking of the wrong side and thinking, they entitled to be right. It's just ridiculous. It really is. And for the people that's following this guy, I'm pretty shocked. But then again, they could be young themselves. It's just kind of crazy. So he did a video. I didn't see it yet, but I'm probably will watch it like another time. But of course, when y'all did watch the live NBA draft lottery with me. If you was on here live yesterday. So Dallas Mavericks, of course, they got the first pick. Then some of the sports media and social media and including this moron saying that Bucks should go for the number one overall pick and try to trade this much for Giannis. I'm like, that's not gonna fix their problem. And plus, how much you can say, that you can trade like these stars and stuff like that. There's no way you can trade a player like Giannis and get better value than what he's about to put up. So yeah, it's like I really do not get it. I really don't. But then again, he said he just exploring his options. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna demand a trade" or anything like that. Well, I shouldn't say he actually said it. I should say the media says that. So it just says just all these people, they follow the media and just run with it. I've seen some crazy trades that for Giannis, and it's still not enough. It really ain't. So of course Cooper Flag could be, the future of the NBA and stuff like that, but that's not gonna fix, where the Bucks need to be. And plus, with the situation like, like they have no first round picks this year, but they got a second round pick. Then next year they got to swap with the Pelicans, and I think they got the final swap with Pelicans in 2028. And yeah, let me show y'all what I'm talking about. So before we officially get to this video, let's see where they. Okay, I will show you what the Bucks have for draft picks. Because it seems like everybody, worry about draft picks, draft picks, draft picks. They more focus on, Giannis stays. What do they need to fix the team? Well, I I still don't understand why John Horst got an extension. I don't get that. They could have, just let him go, and Damian Lillard will be out for most, if not all, the season. Um, but the stuff, with NBA and things like that, with the training staff and stuff like that. Who knows? He maybe just be out for the first half of the season. You never know. Just amazing how things, with rehabbing and things like that, how stuff that happened. So yeah, just some of these people that had these injuries as a late, it's amazed me that, oh wow, they came back that fast for that. But yeah, that does happen. Um, Of course, yep, they have this 2025 second round pick via Detroit, and it's the 47 pick. And the next year, of course, they're gonna have to end up a first round swap. So it's not a big deal, but it's just like people just making it a big deal. It's like, are you kidding me? Of course, the 2026 second round pick, which I think they will not get because if it's like between 31st pick and 55th pick, most likely they will not get that. So for Utah thinking they're going to get better next year is highly unlikely. No offense to Utah. Um, then the final time they got to deal with the Pelicans. They 2027. You know what? They didn't even add this. But I see. This says like Pelicans receive more favorable of the 2027 first round pick and Milwaukee's 2027 first round pick, and Atlanta will receive the less favorable of the two protected for selections 1 through 4. So if this pick falls within the protecting range, therefore not convenable. So then New Orleans Pelicans commitment to Atlanta will be lifted, and the Pelicans will instead receive both picks. Oh, cool, yeah, because they did do that deal. You know, the Pelicans, end up acquiring Devontae Murray with Atlanta. So I guess we can see that. Oh, they just saying if it's like in the protected range from 1 through 4, then the pick would be not available, and the Pelicans can get both picks. So right now, it just seems like I guess depending on if the Pelicans do at least decent next season, then we gonna keep the pick. Well, if they do good, not next season, but the season after. If the Pelicans do better, the season after, then that means we keep the pick. And we still will have to swap with the Pelicans, but end up keeping the pick. So now we got 2028. Portland does hold the right to swap. Um, so Portland will see the more favorable of its 2028 first round pick protected for selections 15 through 30. If Portland is not committed a first round pick to Chicago in 2027. So all that stuff because I think Portland and Chicago like did a deal, and it could be Chicago's 2027 pick. The year before that could belong to Portland. But to me, seeing Chicago improve, I'm 50-50 on that because they ain't even got the top 5 picks. So but things, you know, strange things can happen. So okay, so yeah, there's more to this. Milwaukee's 2028 first round pick. Washington will receive more of a favorable of one, the more favorable of it. A, Washington's 2028 first round pick, and B, the least and less favorable of Brooklyn's 2028 first round pick. Um, Also, Philadelphia's 2028 first round pick, which will be protected selections 1 through 8. Stop. If Philly does not, well, if they, if they do not end up landing like 1 through 8 for their first round pick to Brooklyn in 2020. Oh, okay. So the thing is, Philly owes Brooklyn a pick. So, I guess that's going to be solved is in 2027. Um, and Phoenix 2028 first round pick, and 2, the less favorable of the Milwaukee pick, and the Portland pick if convenable. So that just means like if it's make it up into, to a certain point, that they, own the picks. So And Milwaukee will receive the less favorable of the 1 and 2. Okay, if the Portland pick is not convenable, if they're not going to be in the top lottery, then Milwaukee's commitment to Portland will be lifted, and Washington will instead have the right to swap for the Milwaukee pick. So yeah, it's just crazy, like if somebody else may end up owning the pick, then why like put it on here? So I don't get that. 2029, and I think that was one of the trades that the Bucks traded away for to the Wizards for that. And of course, 2030 they have the Portland holds right to swap, so it'll be like you know Portland will get the most favorable out of that deal. Um, which probably wouldn't make any sense because if Portland doesn't do this good in 2030, so I don't get what the scenario that would happen. Like if the Bucks end up doing worse than Portland at that time. Then the 2031 first round and second round pick. Um if I was the Bucks, if you because I think there's two players that they should be going for in the draft this year. So crazy things they did before. It was a few years ago, well 2 years ago actually. They got Andre Jackson Jr. in the early second round pick. Then the very last pick they end up with like Chris Livingston for that final pick of the draft, and they end up making let's see, I think was it the Orlando one, not Orlando, but who they, yeah, I think it was Orlando. They gave him cash considerations for a pick. So that's what the Bucks did with that. And I think with the Pacers deal that they did like a while back, the Bucks end up with that final pick of the draft. So yeah, moves can be made for them to get more draft picks, but I don't think it'll need to involve Giannis for them to do it. And I'm probably be a heavy believer that Giannis isn't gonna go anywhere, but that's just me. But anyway, so let's watch Bucks like YouTubers dumb ideas for for Bucks trade. So we would 70 tomorrow. I can't wait for that. But anyways, let's do it.
I'm here to double down. So yesterday, as soon as I saw Cooper Flag was gonna be able to go to the Mavericks, get drafted by the Mavericks, a team who is not at all in tank mode. Like I talked about, they've got Klay Thompson they signed. They signed Najee Marshall. They've got Kyrie, he's gonna be coming off injury, but Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, just veterans on veterans on veterans. And so it doesn't make the most sense for them to get a guy that just turned 18 a few months ago. And for the Bucks side of things, with all these Giannis mock trades out here, I'm having a problem with all the things these Bucks fans are telling me. Trade him to the Thunder. The Thunder, yes, they have 1 million picks, but the Thunder's picks are, for the most part, going to be at the end of the first round every year because they're not going anywhere. The Spurs, if we trade Giannis there, their picks are going to be at the end of the first round. And if you just give us young players in return, then the Bucks are going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and we're going to watch other teams draft.
He must have forgot that the Spurs got the second and the 14th pick. So he must have forgot about that one. But I'm not playing, I might as well play the devil's advocate for this one. If the Spurs end up, putting their second and 14 pick, and maybe because the only way the Spurs can get Giannis would be if they got to trade them Victor Wembanyama, and they ain't gonna be willing to do that. So, and I know the GMs and the owners are smarter than that. So he's kind of like I wouldn't say estimated that, but at the same time overestimating. But I still believe that Giannis ain't gonna go nowhere. But carry on.
Draft our top 5 draft picks. And so I say all that to say, it'd be one thing to get a bunch of picks if we could say, all right, we could go through a long rebuild and we'll be, we might be bad for a couple years, but then we'll get top draft picks out of it. With the Bucks not having their own draft picks, you need to get a certified thing that you could build around, because the picks that you would get in return for Giannis, for the most part, would be at the end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say all that to say, if Giannis is going to be traded, give us Cooper Flag. And I think some Bucks fans just maybe don't think Cooper Flag is that good, but I'm here to tell you, Cooper Flag is the best prospect since LeBron James.
Best prospect since LeBron James. And they say that about Zion Williamson. And I'm sorry, but overestimating, like, sorry.
So last night we
I
used
hate when this happens.
Honestly,
So
nothing better than when a guy breaks.
sorry, I just had to pause and I had to laugh at this. But you know what? Let me extend this screen. Cause let's just say the Bucks end up keeping most of the core from last year, and whoever they get in the second round. Sorry. It may be possible they get another second round pick if they try to either stand like cash considerations or like a 2031 second round pick they can use. Maybe that one can work. They can do that. But no, like I said, I don't pay that much attention about college ball except when it comes to Marquette or Wisconsin Badgers. But I seen like the highlights of Cooper Flag and stuff like that. With 19 points a game. Could be a good assist player and decent defensive player. And decent rebounder too. So kind of like one of those all around players that you can like build your future with. But I don't think the Bucks are looking to do that. Maybe like when it comes to 2031, when they have full control of their draft pick, the first round draft pick, maybe. But right now, I just don't see it. And if Giannis goes, you're gonna end up creating a bigger mess than what you're in now. So it's just like some of these guys saying like Dwight Howard reached out to Giannis and said it's not a good feeling if you leave the team that that you like evolve in, then suddenly try to join another team and stuff like that. So it seems like Dwight Howard it was regretting leaving Orlando, which if they build a piece around Dwight Howard and had like the right moves, probably a few years later Orlando could have won a championship. Their first one. They can say like Shaq couldn't do it, I did it. You know what I mean? And of course Carmelo Anthony, as I say again on his podcast, they like, you don't trade Giannis, you fix the things around him. Especially with a generational player like that, you gotta fix around that. And plus the crazy thing is how Anthony Davis and Giannis, how's that going to work? They both played the same position. And I know like most of the time when Anthony Davis was in the Lakers, he was playing center, but he's not comfortable playing center. And Giannis is like the same way. Like he'll play it, but he's not comfortable, starting in that position as a center. So how all this is going to work out, I don't know. But then again, so yeah, some typical Bucks fans would be like saying something crazy, maybe like take this trade and stuff like that. Then you got some like idiots like him just be like, take it. Unbelievable.
And I've seen people say that a lot, but I'm not somebody that's been on that bandwagon for guys in the past. Andrew Wiggins, I didn't even think he should have gone number one. I watched him at Kansas, and I had no clue what everybody was talking about with the hype for him. He seemed very mid to me when I watched him at Kansas. Zion, I was kind of. So I could maybe put myself back in a time machine and maybe I would have said Zion over Cooper Flag, but there was always the injury issue with Zion. And healthy Zion arguably is the best player out of college since LeBron.
And you don't get that, things can happen. And I know, some people need to take risks, and the Bucks should be taking risks to keep Giannis in Milwaukee. And I don't know if ticket sales will plummet, but I'm still gonna go to the games no matter what. Cause they still got interesting players, and even they lose or not, I'm still gonna support the Bucks regardless. Always have and always will be supporting the Bucks. So it's like they're just trying to make them be like they gotta be great if they do this trade next season. We don't know that, and that may be not always true as well. Yeah, I'm trying to play fetch with Ivy, but I hate when she do this. Just not want to play tug, and I hurt my thumb earlier today. So never again. But move on.
It's LeBron because because Wemby and Luka, okay, you could argue them over these college guys, but in terms of college guys since LeBron, I think it's Zion, and I think that
college guys since LeBron. LeBron didn't even go to college. He played ball. He played in NBA out of high school. And it was all this like hype about him. Like, as being a little LeBron James fan myself, like when something real happens and stuff like that, that that his like the other fans will try to protect it. Like, oh, he's the greatest and stuff. But I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call BS on if he does some BS stuff. I'm gonna call him out on it, and I have. And the wife will witness it. Like, if I think it's simple. Some of the flops he been doing that ain't nobody touch him. It's like you trying to get the refs, and I think that's why the refs at times are the way they are, and they screw up, other calls and stuff, because they don't really look at it. But another idea I have, of course, they just got 3 reps. They should get 4 to see, size of the court. So that's just me. Like, they just need to get 4 reps, and I think that will help pretty much.
that turned out to be correct. When he is healthy, he probably is the best prospect out of college since LeBron James. And then you could argue Anthony Davis, and I would argue maybe Jason Tatum. He was phenomenal coming out of Duke. And
LeBron James didn't go to college. Learn your facts, man. Learn your facts.
Those guys you could argue over Cooper Flag, but Cooper Flag, to me, is like kind of an in-between of Jason Tatum and Anthony Davis. This is a guy that has no flaws, was dominant in pretty much every aspect of the game. He could shoot the ball well. He could get to mid-range pull-up shots, put the ball on the floor. He was a great rebounder, great passer. And guys, he was 17 years old playing in college. Not 19, not 20. He was 17. He's going to be 18 for half of the year. So I say all that to say, give me a culture changer. Give me a guy that you can reset it with if you're going to trade Giannis, rather than, oh, we're going to get 5 picks that are all in the 25 to 30 range, or, oh, we'll get Stephon Castle, who's probably going to be a really good, third option. No, give me a centerpiece and then a couple other picks. And so, if Giannis is going to be traded, this is the agenda that needs to be pushed to the Mavericks, a team that it just makes perfect sense both sides. For them, you could say Giannis with Anthony Davis. They can now use Derek Lively as an asset to go get a guard instead of Kyrie. That's going to be healthy. And then they just have championship-type role players. Gafford, we'll see if they bring him back. Maybe that's another sign-and-trade option because they'll have Giannis and Anthony Davis as big men. You got Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall. In this trade, they'll still have Max Christie, Jaden Hardy. Again, assets for you to be able to rebuild the backcourt. But in terms of wings and front court, they're ready to go out there in Dallas. And so for me, it just makes the most sense to go get Cooper Flag, and then they could also give you a couple more picks, like I threw in here. Like, you could also get draft picks from them, too. And so, I think if Giannis is to be traded, I'm only trading with the Mavericks. Like, Nico Harrison, he only talked to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. That didn't make sense. But when you have a guy that I think is this generational coming out of the draft, I think, like, when I say he's this generational, is it possible that, like, he's never Anthony Edwards good? Sure, maybe he's not going to be as good as Anthony Edwards. But coming out of college, I just think that there's just less of a way for him to bust Anthony Edwards when he was coming out of college. You know, there was some flaws in Anthony Edwards' game. His three-point shot wasn't super steady back then. You know, there was some question marks around him. And Cooper Flag might not have that ceiling to become a top even 3 player in the NBA. He might not. But there's just, like, no way he's not, like, a top 15 NBA player to me if he stays healthy. He's just too good at everything, and there's a great chance that he will be top 5 or top 10. And so that's just the type of guy that if I'm going to trade Giannis for, a guy that's freshly 18, that's what I'm thinking. And so, sure, maybe the Anthony Davis trade wouldn't make it.
What? This trade is even worse. You're looking at how you gonna work with Giannis and Anthony Davis playing together. It will not work. So yeah, another stupid trade by Barrett. It's like seriously. So he's saying that Mavericks should go for Mavericks will get Giannis, Kyle Kuzma, Andre Jackson Jr., and Chris Livingston. You know he's picking these players because the main players because he doesn't like them. But sometimes when if the contracts match, yeah. But why would they get young players for like most of them like Asian veterans, and with Jaden Hardy and Max Christine being like probably the two of the young piece, and I think Caleb Martin is like almost about, I think he's 30, 31, I believe, and it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, and that's the sad thing. I'm not pulling it. You're gonna leave it there, leave it there. There you go. Do it like that. So, okay, my camera may be in the way, so let me just put it over here, and y'all can see it, and it really doesn't make a damn sense. But I know there's gonna be some fans that's gonna be like, you're wrong, Artrell, you're wrong. That would be great. One, are they getting any picks out of it? Just not from it looks like. Otherwise, he would have widened, the screen more. It doesn't look like, the Bucks will, come ahead after that. And trading for like the number 1 pick is not great either. Because, the Bucks ain't trying to restart until, if they keep Giannis, they ain't going to restart until Giannis retires. Then, then they're going to restart unless, they get another player that end up, evolving, during the time that Giannis is still there. Then maybe. I wouldn't say like a reboot, but maybe like if that one player after Giannis retires be that good, they can just do like a soft reboot, like, because if that player end up being great, then try to work things around that player. So, and plus, business sense, you gotta keep them. You gotta keep them. Maybe, the 2030 and the Dark Days and stuff, a lot of stuff, has been built, excuse me, and involve around this community, Well, I wouldn't say just like since the owners, since, Giannis evolved in his, like, and you saw some stuff of what he could become that third season with the Bucks. So, no. I would not trade my generational player. I will talk to him and be like, what do you think we need and what do you think we can do? Like, go to 50-50 like turns with it. Like, let him, if he come up with an idea and you think that idea will work, go for it. And then there may be some things he may say that will work for the team may not make sense. But if you're in the business side and the basketball side, then if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. Just gotta like really think before you come to that point. I'm not doing that. Um, but moving on, and let's just react to this dumb idea of a trade.
Make as much sense for the Mavericks, so I'm going to take that Anthony Davis off the table for today. But if you don't like the first one, here's another one. Maybe we could have the opportunity to also unload on Kuzma's contract. Now with this,
Of course, want to unload on Kuzma's contract. And I said this about Kuzma, and y'all probably hear me saying this. It's like, I know Kuzma is gonna be 30 when the NBA season began, but it's like he only played for the Bucks for half the season. You don't know if he's gonna be better or adjust by beginning of the season. You don't know. And plus, his situation. He was the number one guy in the Wizards when Lakers traded him for to the Wizards. And you got this going on. Like I said, Kuzma had some good games and he had some bad games. Like, there's gonna be players that's gonna have good and bad games, but I know there's generational players like Giannis. It's very rare when you have a bad game. Maybe like 2-3 games he had like a bad game out of the whole season. It happens. But it's like if you got like an idea for a me, if I want to if I'm keeping Kyle Kuzma, I'm gonna have him work with the staff, the training staff, and maybe a few of the players too.
Just get rid of the coaching stuff.
She said get rid of the coaching staff, which I would say partially she's correct, because it's like, if you don't voice your opinion about what should happen, and you letting like Doc Rivers just like we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and if the coach doesn't value your opinion, then yeah, you gotta go, or at least try to force the opinion on the coach for saying this is work better, this work better. And plus, another times you gotta talk to the GM too if you think something ain't working. Like for the 2-8 record, for example, for like the first 10 games. Then they started figure something out, and like I think Doc Rivers is good at adjustments when it comes to starting lineup. Maybe this player would play better than with these players. But when it comes to substitutions and stuff like that, I don't think Doc Rivers is that great. I really don't. So that's why I was saying, like, Doc Rivers got a good basketball mind, but I'd rather if he was like a GM or a president of basketball operations than being a coach. Because yeah, it's like, but you saw like this past season, like he was forced to play the young players because you can't rely the veteran starting lineup. So it's like you had to make some moves. Like, I'm glad he did that, although I think we only had like like 4 or 5. I'm not saying veterans that been after 2 years or something like that, but I'm just saying like proper veterans that won the championship before. At the time, before the Chris Middleton trade, it was Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez. So, but then again, you got players that like, of course, they saying the team was like too old and stuff like that. But after they did this, trade deadline this past season, they actually got out from being the oldest team in the NBA. But And Kyle Kuzma, like I said, he's still a young and a proven player that can improve. But some people just don't want to hear that, and especially if Barrett didn't see the games in Washington, but only go by stats. Sometimes you gotta watch the games before you can say the stats and stuff like that. Like, okay, or let's just say Bucks record. They can play better than that record, but that's what the record shows. I don't know. Some of these young people just don't get it.
With this one, I would say you're probably not going to get the 3 first-round draft picks I put originally because they're taking on Kyle Kuzma, but we'll still get Cooper Flagg, and I would still demand at least one more first-round pick out of them. And then you could get a team that is more competitive to win now. Kyrie would be back by the end of the season. Clay, Caleb Martin, Christie, Jaden Hardy, a bunch of guys that can help you stay.
And I forgot Kyrie Irving is injured, too. I forgot about that. Did he get hurt in I think he got hurt in the play-in tournament. But, no, the first round because they actually, made it in the first round through the play-in. It was the shocker of everything, and I think they ended up being the AC and they lost to OKC. So why get like Asian players when you need to get like young? I will just be happy, keeping the people that I got right now. And it's like, these teams getting old and people saying that while, the Bucks are trading young assets, is like, it's not going to help their cause. And I think hopefully, they learned that lesson by trying to, keep the core together, that won the 2021 NBA championship, and it just hasn't like worked out that they try to keep the same core. I know they made like minor changes after that 2021 championship, but you got to realize there are certain people that you need to try to keep. And if you want to make minor adjustments, that's fine, but sometimes it just don't work. But that's just me. But then again, I know they before these past few seasons they was the number 1 seed, but now you gotta look at it and getting better. Hopefully in the draft either they get a pass first point guard or they'll get a center. And y'all probably seen like the last couple of videos I was talking about it, that they was thinking about getting just one center from China, a 7'1" center that's kind of like a all around player, but he just needs to get stronger. And I think the player they're talking about from China is like 19 right now. So it's like one of the things, the possibilities that either pick him or pick that, or if you want to get it was another player they talk about, Dantry, I can't even, I think it's Tantre. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but I know he played for the Badgers. Now I seen some of the games that the Badger had played, and pretty good dude. But it doesn't solve their problem. So that's why I'm just saying some of these teams are always trying to get the best player available, and not instead like getting the best player in the position they need. So I know I said they should get a need then get a best player available, but don't get the best player available overall, but get the best player available for the position you're looking for. So like I said, we don't know what they're gonna do with the Ryan Rollins situation. Are they gonna resign him? And Kevin Porter Jr. Well, like I said, he got a option or a player option. So we're kind of hoping he sticks with it and maybe convince Giannis more to stay. And also they need to get Jericho Sims, because them having like a big man that can run and got like better footwork than Brook Lopez, then you going somewhere. So and they just need to get another player like that. Maybe the 7-footer that that can be that can run along with your starting 5. Now a player that that can't run, and always every time you try to play defense, the person pass you.
stay competitive while only giving up Chris Livingston, who's not really anything for the Bucks as of yet, and Andre Jackson, who.
Your smile matters, but so does your bank account.
But like I
With
said,
Aspen
like
Dental, you don't
he
have to
doesn't
choose.
like Andre Jackson Jr. So it's mainly like he's trading like the people he hates the most. Which is Kuzma and Andre Jackson Jr. Now, of course, Chris Livingston ain't proven yet, but if you've seen the highlights of what he did in the G League this past season, you're thinking like, why should I give him up? He may be like one of the players in the future, like one of the role players of the future. And I don't know, it's just like some people just don't think that way. They just really don't. And like a little bit, I'm John Horst too, and like I said, I'm still stunned that he got a 2-year extension, which I don't know what the Bucks were thinking about, or unless they were trying to be cheap or something. Yeah, it's just don't make any sense. But that's just me.
I think we should be able to move on from with no issue over there. And then the last one, this is one that's kind of reaching for the moon in terms.
I want to laugh at this final trade thing he got. But, I'm actually glad that he's not using ESPN. Then, yeah, I'm glad he's not using ESPN because ESPN don't have, the accurate trades. FanSpro do. So, you guys, if you want to, try to play GM and be, active, do active trades, I should say, or you want to do, NFL trades because they do cover NBA and NFL. So you want to do some trades or something like that, you check out FanSpro because although it'll take them a few days to update stuff, but at least the trades you do will be accurate. So I am glad that Barrett smart enough and decided to use that
In terms of getting Derek Lively in there, but I wanted to throw in my.
Oh yeah, this trade, it's like the same thing, but it's like, okay, you will get your center that you would need in Derek Lively, but I think there's no way that the Mavericks is going to give him up. Especially you got Daniel Grafford that's going to want starting center money, according to sources. And so, if you can keep the sure thing, then they're gonna keep Derek Lively. He ain't gonna go nowhere. Probably only people that go somewhere there is a big guy. It's probably Daniel Grafford because they may not want to sign him for that for that big contract because injuries. And I think they had another before they got Anthony Davis, they had somebody else too. I just can't even think of it. And I think he's a free agent as well. But the point is, don't trade because of your feelings, and trade what you think that's the best for the team. And like I said, keeping Giannis is the best thing for the team, and you got to just get pieces around Giannis. Although it may hurt people's feelings, you got to do what you got to do. Especially now it's a younger generation's league, and you just got to work with that. But I think this is a more ridiculous trade and an impossible trade to happen because it's just like he mentioned. Oh, Kyrie won't be back to the end of the season, in the next season, and you got Damian Lillard that's going to be out for majority of the season, or may not even be back at all until the following season. Which then he has a player option. And I just now realized that Kyrie Irving has a player option too. So I don't know how that's gonna work. If you were adding Dame into this, then for Kyrie Irving, what you might end up getting in the playoffs at least, you can do the Damian Lillard for a Kyrie Irving trade. But you're gonna get two injured players that's gonna be out for a majority of the season. It just don't work. It really doesn't. So for Barrett claimed that he had, NBA knowledge, and mainly there's you know, YouTubers that they go by feelings, but rather go what's best for the team. So I know he said if Giannis decided like he want to get traded, and like I said, if you still got Anthony Davis and Giannis on your team, it's not gonna work. It's really not gonna work. Like like I said, I know they probably will do that at one point. Put two power forwards like in the 3 and 4. Maybe they decide put Giannis as small forward. But I still see it's not gonna work. But I just want to hear his reaction about this.
For a mock trade with Derek Lively, just simply for the fact of, like I said, with them having Giannis and Anthony Davis, maybe a big man will be more expendable, and so this allows you to kind of just rebuild the Bucks immediately, for like to be able to be competitive now with all these like solid players, get off of Kyle Kuzma's contract, and then have a guy that could be around for literally the next 20 years in Cooper Flag. Again, 18 years old, and so I'm not interested in anything but Cooper Flag. I'm good on getting 10 draft picks and then watching us stink for years and watching other teams get our top 5 draft picks and hoping that John Horst makes good selections at the end of the first round. I'm good on all that. Give me a guy that we could get behind right now if we're trading Giannis. I'm not trading Giannis unless it's for Cooper Flag. This is the only thing I'm open to, and I'm tired of hearing Bucks fans say, Jalen Williams and picks from the Thunder.
Yeah, I do admit, some of the trades that some Bucks fans be putting out there is just like ridiculous. Cause I'm sorry, Giannis has got one of the highest value trades if they do decide to trade him, and you're not gonna get anything better than that. So it's just like we said, we're better off keeping Giannis and just ride with him all the way through until until he retires. So, in my opinion, that's more of a smart move than trying to like, if he wanted to trade it, go for Cooper Flag. That's ridiculous because we can't like pour our energy on somebody that's for that. And well, the players they trying to resign, like they probably don't even want to go back if Giannis is traded. So y'all really got to think about that. And I know they gotta be worried about the first apron and separate apron and all that stuff, but I don't know. It just like the apron thing. It helps teams be smart with their money. Although they complain about small market teams not getting like a fair due, and when they put the like keep raising the salary cap. And speaking of the salary cap, I think it's gonna go up this year, but I don't know by how much. But I think it's gonna go up. So sorry about that. So I think we don't really have to watch this video anymore. Although it's like about over a minute left, but I don't think it's even worth watching the video because the dude is just so stupid. Okay, come on. How much will the NBA salary Oh yeah, perfect. Mindy, calm down. Okay. The salary cap is projected to increase by 10% for the 2025-2026 season, rising for 140 million or 140.6 million to 154.6 million. This is the maximum. Okay. This is the maximum increase allowed under the collective bargain agreement. So hold on, because I think that he's playing more. Okay. The luxury track threshold will rise from 170 million to 187 million. The first apron will rise from 178 million to 195 million. So let's just say they end up spending up to like close to 200 million for the team. They will still be okay. But I know it's like as long as they don't pass, the 195.9 million, they'll be okay. And plus, you can get if you're getting off a Brook Lopez contract, you have like what's it like 23 million that you can spend either keeping Gary Trent Jr. Like I said, Brook Lopez, like I said, he can kick rocks. I'm trying to think who other players that is in free agency. I didn't even look at it. Bobby Porter's got a player option, but he's going to end up getting paid like almost 13 million next season. So you know what? Hopefully, he take his player option and you ride with him and try to keep him too. I know Pat Connaughton got a player option, and I was just talking to somebody earlier today. Like maybe Pat Connaughton don't deserve the over 9 million that he's gonna get paid this coming season, but maybe you can convince him to opt out and take a lesser deal, like maybe like 2 million for the next if they decide give him 2.5 million for the next 5 years. So say like 5 years, or do like 5 years, 25 million. Why not? That work. And I know he's constantly talking about get rid of Kyle Kuzma, but like I said, I'm not going to give up on Kyle Kuzma just yet. Like I said, he's still upset over Chris Middleton getting traded, and I know some people are upset about that too. And I'm not saying Chris Middleton, he's going to be one of the best players in the organization. So that's going to happen. But if you got a player that's old and not that much athletic, and injuries is catching up to him, yeah, you gotta let him go. Because, now it's based on, players being, athletic. Not just, but then again, you understand there are some players that, that can catch and shoot like A.J. Green. And yeah, A.J. Green will still be on the team next season. So, I'm sorry, but, Giannis had the best shooting around him this season. After the trade deadline, the best team he had around him. But like I said, that costly mistake by Gary Trent, is probably going to eat him up, and he's going to get his redemption season next season if Bucks offer him a good contract. Maybe they go with maybe 8 million for maybe 4 years, then have a player option after the 5th year. So, around that time, he's probably going to be 31. So, like, use those players that you can get as much as you can and give them, like, a decent deal. Then, after, if he decides, about his player option, maybe give him a bigger deal or something like that if he's going to be that good. So, and otherwise, like, I think, the Bucks will be in good hands. And, the owners don't have that much to worry about, because they can have, and I think they got a mid-level exception, too, that they can use. So, they do got that, to use that. So, you got, like, maybe, if you don't sign, Brook Lopez, you would have at least, like, maybe, I may be a little bit off on this one, but I'm just going to estimate it. Maybe around 35 to 40 million that you can spend this offseason. And plus, besides, you got to sign, if you're going to keep your draft pick, or if you end up getting, like, draft picks. I know you got to, pay them too, but, they probably ain't going to be that much to money to pay them. But it's just like the point is
Ivy.
they they just got to get smart on when it comes to the moves that they're gonna do next season.
She's no winning.
So like I said, if they end up if Kevin Porter Jr. end up opting out, pay him. Gary Trent Jr. pay him. And I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Jericho Sims is another one. They have bird rights to him. They can pay him as much as they want. You know what? Give him like maybe 7 or 8 million to have him improve himself. Then if he's end up being good, pay him more after his contract expired. But I see Jericho Sims being like a good fit for this team if he starts or not. Yeah, because that Jericho Sims and Kevin Porter Jr. connection works for like being the bench. But either Ryan Rollins. Oh yeah, they might have to sign him too. They probably can give him like maybe like 4 to 5 million a year just to prove himself. Either it be like 3 years, 4 years, or something like that. So it's not as bad as people are making it to be. And it's just sad, Giannis been like MVP conversation ever since, he won it. And yeah, like he's like in there the top 3, top 5, but then again, there's some things you don't understand, like why certain players, like Nikola Jokic is getting, multiple MVPs, and I'm sorry, but like after that third one, it's like, why does he deserve it? So if it's gonna be between Giannis, Nikola, and Shea, either Giannis or Shea should get it, because Giannis is improving like every year. Well, except for the free throws, but the point is, you can't just give it to in general, you don't need social media to be in, voting for like NBA's MVP. So I think that's one of the mistakes that they made. Yeah, we're gonna have like our the analysts from ESPN, TNT, and whoever else, and we're gonna have like social media influencers gonna end up being voting for MVP. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. So I'm just saying, social media should stay out of the voting for that, and let maybe the NBA analysts and stuff like that. Maybe they should vote, but don't add the social media parts into it, because half of the times they don't even know what they talk about. But yeah, point is, I think they will be okay. And they will have a lot of money to move around, which I think some people don't even see that by looking through this. And as long as the Bucks don't go past. Okay, so one more thing before we go. So let me move this and let me So I know it's like a longer video than expected. I didn't expect it to be this long video, but things happen. Let's see. Let's go to the Bucks. I don't know if they if FansPro updated their salary cap. Oh wait, maybe they did. Right now with the the team they have now, they claim they are 224.4 million in the total cap. But I think that's kind of false. But it's mainly like the total apron if they're not in the if they're not in the first apron. So like you see cap holes, nearly 60 million. Unlikely insensitives, 3 million. And
Okay, you two stop.
okay, yeah, they did update it. Okay. So you get to the first apron threshold is 195.9 million, of course. So let Brook Lopez walk, and draft you somebody, either a center or
Ivy.
a pass first point guard. So go for that. And like I said, they just, hey, y'all sit down, all y'all, sit down, all y'all, sit down, sit down. You too, lay down. But anyways, I apologize about that. So mainly, they're gonna come off the books. Okay, so that's when they traded, Deron White. That expires early next year by the trade deadline, and the same thing for when they traded Majal Beauchamp, to Chris Middleton and all that stuff. So yeah, so they will have money to spend, but if they don't go past the threshold. So mainly, they saying they can at least have and I think that includes Brook Lopez contract, not him being resigned. Plus, the space they have, they only have like 28.1 million just to work with if they get to the first apron. So they can go like a little bit past the first apron. That could be maybe they decide spend like up to 200 million, and they would still be fine. And like I said, just some people just don't see that. And of course, a little bit of free agency, and y'all probably will get my draft. But anyways, I think they'll be fine. They just need to really look in free agency and go from there. But that's just my take, and y'all can comment below if y'all agree with my take, or you end up agreeing with the idiot Barrett's take, or you have a take of your own that probably would be better than what Barrett put out. But anyways, like I said, let me know in the comments below. Please like the video. If you like today's video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Check out the website wrestlingfanspeakout.weebly.com. We see like videos like this, upcoming events in the Midwest wrestling wise, and wrestling and Bucks photos that we took in events. And don't forget, over 2,600 videos and counting on YouTube, and the longest reigning YouTube channel there is. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, so please check in your people. Thank to Mike and Robin Thompson and Midwest Wrestling Collectibles for sponsoring WFSO. Anyways, check out Midway Wrestling Collectibles on Facebook. So they might got some stuff that you might need come to wrestling, like figures and stuff like that. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Until the next video, you have a good one.